Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Tree the LPC, and thank you for tuning in to this new season of the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast. I have a group of amazing guests that are going to be coming each week and sharing about their lives, their experiences. I have a couple of experts coming through just to tell you more about mental health. We're going to be tackling new taboo topics, things that we talked about last season. We're just going to go a little bit deeper and dive even further into some of those taboo topics that you guys have been sending in and requesting that we talk about this season. So I have a great, amazing guest with me today. I am so excited to talk to her. She just does not even understand how excited I am to really be able to share her story with the world. But before we get into who she is in terms of her story, just want to go ahead and just give a big shout out to Meloney Hendricks. She is someone that you guys, if you don't know her before today, you will know her after today because she is an amazing blogger. She's from the Caribbean. I will let her tell you exactly where she's from because I don't want to mess up the name of her country. Respect to them. She is the founder of Dopamine on the Rocks, and she is all about ending the stigma around mental health. And so she's here to share about her journey and also what she does in terms of advocacy. So without further ado, please welcome to the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast, Meloney A. Hendricks. Hey, Meloney, how you doing today?
Hey girl, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that kind of introduction. You put a big smile on my face, but thank you so much for having me. I am really, really excited to talk to you.
I am so excited to talk to you. Like, I've been waiting for this. I was telling you in pre-show, like, I've been waiting to talk to you because you are so unique. So before I get into telling the people why you're so unique, I'll just go ahead and have you tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me again. Like I said, my name is Meloney. I'm from the small island of Tortola.
Okay.
I am a blogger, a mom, an entrepreneur. Oh my God, there's so many things that I wear so many hats. But right now I am just here to talk about why I'm so self-aware and effed up.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. I mean, I know a little bit about your journey in terms of why you're so self-aware and effed up, but since you're going to take us there this early, we can go ahead and get into it. How do you personally kind of identify with the idea of being self-aware and effed up?
You know, I would say that all my life, I felt that I've been really self-aware. I'm learning now through therapy that not a lot of people are experiencing this level of self-awareness. It's almost non-existent. So I would say I've always experienced it since I was a child. And also, I am diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So that's another layer to everything that I'm experiencing, having to deal with this mental health condition, being a neurodiverse person navigating the neurotypical world. It adds another layer that my experience of the world is a lot different.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. That has to be challenging. I'm sure it's not easy to kind of navigate that sort of thing. How did you find out that you were suffering from bipolar disorder?
So I was actually diagnosed 2 years ago after the birth of my daughter. I was very stressed during that time. I was opening up a new business. Entrepreneurship can be very hard.
Right.
And I was a new mom juggling both that and motherhood. I didn't realize how many things I was actually burying and not taking the time to deal with until it was one of those things where the straw broke the camel's back. And then I had a manic episode. So a lot of people who don't know what a manic episode is, it's a period of extreme high. And it's like, I don't know, you feel like a god, I would say. You feel invincible and limitless, and be operating in that space had a very big impact on my mind. And it was during that time that I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And especially in the Caribbean, this is something that's not talked about at all. So it's a different layer upon the layer that I had to deal with, because mental health in the Caribbean is something that is not talked about at all. It's so stigmatized that there's so much shame associated with it.
Why do you think that is, though? I've always kind of found that part of the Caribbean culture, because it's not just your island or your country. It's like a lot of like West Indian kind of people just don't talk about it, you don't deal with it. Like, why do you think that is such a part of that culture?
It comes down to pride. I would say it comes down to that's basically nobody wants to seem like they have their house out of order. You want to see everybody wants to be normal and a part of the regular world. They don't want to be seen outside of be the outcast of anything because we as a people, you know, in order to survive, you have to stick with the pack. And the moment you're seen as outside of the pack, you're out there to survive on your own.
Yeah. Gotcha. So pride is kind of the main thing, and you have to fit in. Yeah.
Look here, we are very prideful people down here in the Caribbean.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, but that kind of limits so many people that I'm sure need help. So, you know.
Oh my God. Yes. It really, really does. Because when I was diagnosed, I was begging my therapist and my psychiatrist, is there anyone that I could talk to? Because you're basically left alone to deal with this new diagnosis. And the people around you who are neurotypical, they don't understand what you're experiencing, what you're feeling in your body. And it's very hard to relate something to somebody who'd never experienced it. And yes, there are thousands of people here I could just talk on my island. There are many people here who have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but were so ashamed to come forward to even be in a group setting to say, hey, I'm one of you. So that's why I took up the mantle and started my blog, started talking about it. And I met a lot of disagreement. My family plain told me not to do it.
Wow.
Because, people would talk.
Yeah.
And that was very discouraging, but I'm the rule breaker in my family. But I did it anyways.
I'm here for doing it. Yeah, like what you're doing is amazing. Like I really commend you, and that's one of the things that really I loved about just kind of in that energy. Like obviously we're just talking now, but like when I looked at your page and I looked at your website, like I was really drawn to it because I'm like, she is really out there changing stuff for her culture, and I think that is like so amazing. So I don't know how often you get your flowers, but I see you, and I really love what you're doing, and just when you say taking up a mantle, I'm like, yes, because somebody has to do it. Someone has to break the cycle and break the stigma. So I got to ask you, dopamine on the rocks. How did you come up with that? And what, because I was like, yo, like, what is this? Who is this girl?
I love it. I get people love that name so much. They love the name so much. So it was a play on words. A few things. So, being that I'm bipolar, like my brain is constantly looking for that shot of dopamine. So it's like the drink, dopamine on the rocks, like a drink.
Yeah.
And then dopamine on the rocks because I'm on the island or rock. So that's where I was coming from. And then dopamine on the rocks where like my mind is not really in order. So it's like dopamine on the rocks.
Okay.
If you get what I'm saying. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that's what they call a triple entendre right there. You got all of that going for yourself. So I'm here for it. Like all the dopamine. I need the dopamine myself. So I'm definitely here for it.
It's my favorite drug. It's my favorite drug. I'm addicted to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love that. And I love what you do. But I mean, taking up a mantle, being the strong one in the family and being the person in your culture to change and shift mental health, that has to be a lot on top of also dealing with said disorder that you're trying to help destigmatize. How has being diagnosed and dealing with the impact of bipolar disorder, how has that impacted your life, like just day to day?
You actually just said it when you said being the strong one. And that actually took a toll on me, actually. I was actually talking about this in a women's group. Mm-hmm. And I felt pressured to be perfect, to be that example, to show that you can do it, you can live a normal life, being with bipolar disorder. And you can, but I put that extra pressure on myself to
Mhm.
not mess up. So know that when things didn't look the same way, didn't look perfect, I felt so guilty. And I shared with you before the interview that I actually had another manic episode back in February.
Mm.
And that threw me to the ringer. And this was very different. And that changed the structure of my life for over the last 2 months significantly. And it was very hard to deal with. And I felt like, wow, I was on the trajectory of doing so well. Look
Yeah.
at building this platform. And now it's like I'm going completely, I feel like I'm 100 steps backwards. Like I'm day
Mm.
one of my first diagnosis. I'm like, how can I not pull myself up? Because people are looking at me.
Mm.
I felt so much shame again. I got a new um share of shame, I would say. A
Wow.
new order of shame issue that I felt, you know, disappointed in myself that I allowed myself to get back to this point. And it's not that I didn't give myself grace
Mm.
anymore. And it's
Wow.
like, this is something that I can't control. Just me saying that I allowed myself to make this happen
Yeah.
to show that I'm not allowing myself grace. And that's not the point. I can't control what happens to me. There's some certain things that I can control, and there's some things that I can't. And
Right.
the things that I couldn't significantly impacted my life,
Yeah.
which led to another diagnosis, another episode again. So
Yeah. Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah. And I hear shame a lot, not just with bipolar disorder, but with a lot of mental health situations, and also just kind of this idea that you somehow can control everything. Yes, you can take your
Mm-hmm.
meds. Yes, you can go to the doctor. You can follow up and make sure that you're taking care of yourself. But sometimes it comes out of nowhere, or sometimes
Out
something
of
that you
nowhere.
didn't know was a trigger can trigger things. And so I think it is important that you use, language with yourself, and that people that are listening, that you use language with yourself to be kind to yourself in this, because, there is no shame in mental illness. There's no shame in that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you're kind of coming out of this thing and kind of dealing with some of the aftermath, it sounds like. But, it is something that I think is important for you to hear. There's nothing for you to be embarrassed or shameful about, because you're still fighting through this thing. And it's something that it's a lifelong journey.
Yeah, it's a lot because I'm coming from being full-time employed to not being employed at all, worrying about finances. And that too is putting stress on me. My brain, it doesn't feel the same anymore.
Mm.
And like I said, I'm very self-aware. I am very aware of what's going on. And it's like, I keep telling people, it's like, again, talking to the neurotypical people around me, they still don't understand. And it's a very small community of people who really would really open up themselves and say, hey, Meloney, I'm actually going through this too. I feel sometimes when I explain to people that when I'm self-aware, how I experience my self-awareness is like I'm here present with you, but I feel like I'm floating above.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah.
like, it's an out of body experience. I'm very aware of what is happening. And I could pinpoint, okay, I could see what kind of led me to this path. But it's like a ruminating in that space over
Yeah.
and over and over and over.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're kind of stuck, but you're stuck in kind of a place of disconnection from you.
Yes.
Yeah. That that has to be challenging, one, but I can see it being frustrating, because people don't understand what it feels like when you aren't connected, because they may feel grounded. So how do you kind of navigate being in that space and then kind of coming out of the mania? Because I've seen clients before that are just kind of stuck in it. And sometimes people don't want to give it up because, like you said earlier, there's this kind of like God-like feeling that can come to it. Like, what is that journey like, coming from I'm having this experience to now I'm trying to get back to normalcy, so to speak?
I always say, and it's always strange when people hear me say, I miss my mania sometimes.
Mm.
because that, oh my God, you feel so powerful. You feel so limitless. Like there are days when I wake up and I am not motivated to do anything at all.
Mm.
Just getting up and do the simplest of things. I don't have the energy to do it at all. And
Yeah.
there's no motivation and I miss my mania. So how I cope with it, I have to go to therapy.
Okay.
I go to therapy and I talk about it and I talk about it. I take my medication, but there's a part of me that misses my regular self and I have to take small steps throughout the day. And I'm gonna be honest, it's a struggle every day to do it.
Mm.
But I have to, I have no choice. Even if I have to cry myself.
Yeah.
Even if I have to cry to do it. That's
Yeah.
how I cope. You just gotta do what you have to do. But I have amazing friends, I would say. You have to expand. What has been helping me this time around, what's better than the last time is I've expanded my support network, my
Mm-hmm.
support team. Those people around me before it was just, okay, I can't depend on these people. I'll just do it all by myself. Or I had one or two people that I could really depend on. Now I'm slowly expanding the people who are there to support me and making sure that I have a good plan, like emergency plan in case something bad happens again, meaning
Yeah.
a manic episode, and or just having someone there to talk to, having a plethora of people, close people that I could talk
Yeah.
to, really share what I'm experiencing with them.
Yeah. The support system piece, I'm glad you said that part of it, because it's so important and it's so applicable to so many different situations. You know, you have to have people in your corner. And I think that not everyone has that. And I think that makes life really difficult. So I'm really glad to hear that you do have support systems in place and that you have, like you said, an emergency kind of kit or an emergency kind of plan of how to navigate something like this in the future. So, you know, those are really, really helpful tips. And I definitely hope that the listeners are taking heed to that, because a lot of people don't know how to navigate coming out of episodes. And sometimes as a result of that, they stay there and they want to stay there at least, and refuse to take medications at times because they don't want to let go of that feeling of mania. Yeah.
But
I'm
you just want to feel whole.
Right. Yeah. And you've done your medication adjustment like in the outpatient setting. I know sometimes people have to
Yeah.
go and are hospitalized after a manic episode.
Oh, I was hospitalized.
Okay. Gotcha.
My first time, and that was very hard. The first time I was not hospitalized. I had the luxury of being home for 3 days and dealing with that at home. But this time, that being hospitalized, that too kind of wrecked me,
Mm-hmm.
because after the first 3 days, I felt like I didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
I felt like a prisoner.
Yeah, it's a different experience. Like I've worked at psychiatric hospitals in the past, and I'd never been admitted there, but like even as a staff member, like having to badge in and out and feeling like you're locked in a space, like that can be
Yep.
very scary for a lot of people, for sure.
Yep. Not being able to see my kids. Like I've never been away from my kids at all. Honest. The only reason I would be away from my kids was to give birth to their other sibling.
Okay.
So to be in a hospital, not being able to tuck my daughter in at night because she sleeps with me at nighttime and sleeping in this room, and I'm hearing people screaming, and I'm in the middle of an episode, and what these people are saying are in fact in my episode.
Yeah.
It's like what's happening with the other patients is affecting you, and you meet staff too that aren't really pleasant. I would say they're pleasant when the family's around.
Yeah.
So it's a lot that goes into the process, and then you see these, especially where I live, is everybody gets thrown in the same place. So the people off the street who have mental health issues, y'all are put in the same place, and that there's a little jarring and a little hard to deal with.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a scary experience. I think for so long I was probably desensitized to it just because I saw it every day for 7 years, having to sign off on paperwork to send people because they were needing that or whatever. So it's always interesting to talk to the other side. But I have had a lot of people come back after the fact that were like, you know what, I'm glad that you made the decision that you did because now I'm on the right path or whatever. But there is the possibility to be able to do it outside of a hospital setting. And I think it, it just depends on how severe it is and how much of a risk you might be to yourself. Because a lot of times, even, with bipolar disorder on the depressive side, some people end up going because of suicidal ideation. And that's a whole different, layer to the disorder that maybe a lot of people don't talk about.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely experienced that as well. For me, I thought about it the first time I had my manic episode. That was a very severe episode, my first time. And I thought about, not being here anymore. I remember sitting at the same window that I'm at, thinking about ways to unalive myself. And if it wasn't from my kids, I probably would have done it because I felt like such a burden. And this time around, even though it was hypomania, when I got my medication, even though it wasn't a severe episode, what the medication done was it was bringing me down. So once you go up, you have to come down. It was bringing me down, but it wouldn't stop bringing me down. So I was down there in this depressive episode now, having to deal with the high, now dealing with the low, and I'm back feeling the same way. Again, feeling like a subhuman. I don't feel happy. I don't feel motivated. Nothing inspires me. Nothing to do my business. The simple pleasures of life doesn't inspire me anymore. Like eating food. You know the little tiny escape that you have with eating food? You feel going, not even having my favorite meal would have me, light up. Nothing lit me up anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah. I can relate to that, to not being lit up by food. At times, and I love food. I love some good seafood for sure. Yeah. So I get excited. I dance when I eat. So I love the act of being able to enjoy some good food. So yeah, that has to be difficult. I can relate to that experience, like going through grief and going through depressive episodes. So it's a lot. It's a lot to kind of manage. And you've kind of explored a lot of kind of your experience of it and shared a lot of like things that maybe people wouldn't understand about it. Is there anything else that you can think of that you wish people knew about bipolar disorder, or how to kind of help people that that may be dealing with bipolar disorder?
I would say my main frustration with what from my own personal experience is the people that were responsible for caring for me and making certain decisions based on my health weren't informed about my condition. They didn't take the time to read up on it, do some research. And that's my main frustration about it all. If you're placed in a position where you're having to care for somebody with any mental health condition, do them the service of being informed. Don't just rely on what the doctors are saying. You have your phone, pick it up, ask questions, you know, do some research, do some in-depth research so that you can respond appropriately, because how they're being treated and how you respond is based on the knowledge and information that you have already. So that's what I have to say. You can't just go in there blind. It's like the blind leading the blind, because I am not in a position to help myself.
Yeah.
I may think I am, but you're the one there. You're the one there on the sign on the paper as next of kin or whatever to make these decisions on my behalf. So you have to be informed.
Yeah. Wow. Really, really good tip. Very helpful. And I know that a lot of people, they aren't informed, or they have these like ideas about what mental health looks like based off of a television show or a movie that they saw, and that's not someone's lived experience. And that's why I really, wanted you to be able to share your lived experience so that you can help, people who are experiencing a manic episode or any type of impact, because it's something that's so real and it's very prevalent, but people don't really talk about it.
Exactly, because during that time, everything seems like a good idea. I can tell you right off the bat, I left I would say a good job. I thought it was a great idea.
Wow.
And I laugh now, because at 11:59 p.m. I thought it was a great idea at the onset of my manic episode, to quit my job.
Wow.
And I had when I look back at the letter, I'm like, this was well thought out. If anybody would see this was a well thought out letter, but it wasn't, because I had to deal with the impact of that afterwards.
Yeah.
I have to deal with how am I going to take care of my kids. Yeah. There is an impact. So in that moment, you're making these decisions that you think are that are all great, but it's not. And that's why you have to have these people there in your emergency team to be there to support you and kind of help, have the patience to talk you down.
Right.
Because you might be in and out of reality, to bring you back to a place of center so you can make some wiser choices.
Yeah. Yeah, that is not an uncommon experience for someone, in that state, to make a decision that you now have to deal with the aftermath of it. And I'm glad that you have people in place now that are able to support you. And, for anyone who's listening, make sure you get an emergency kind of team on board for helping you if you experience anything like this, because it is going to be important that they, know how to talk you through it, because I'm sure, it's not easy to talk to you when you're in that state and trying to help you. Yeah. So. But Meloney, I so appreciate you sharing your experience. And I know that this must have also been challenging. Like you said, you're on new medication and so much is going on. So I just wanted to say I truly appreciate you sharing your experience to be able to help others. I love what you're doing with Dopamine on the Rocks. That triple entendre is going to stick with me for a very long time. But please let the audience know how they can connect with you and support you.
Thank you so much. This was very cathartic for me and therapeutic. I really appreciate you for having me. So they can find me at www.dopamineontherocks.com. That is where all the fun happens. They can also message me on Facebook and Instagram at dopamineontherocks.com or Facebook at Meloney A Hendricks. And that's where you could find me.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So the information for how you can connect Meloney will also be in the description of this episode. Also, make sure that you guys follow me, Tree the LPC, on all social media platforms under the handle Tree the LPC. I also want you guys, if you're listening, make sure if you're not taking care of your self-care, go and grab my new book, Minding My Own Mental Health. It is a self-care journal that's going to take you through all the dimensions of wellness. So make sure you go ahead and grab that as well. But until next time, be safe, be well, and make sure that you take care of your mental health.